Show. Follow the show on Facebook, facebook.com/The Marc Cox Show.
Well, he said this in service of a larger point, which is he doesn't accept that the election was a verdict on his view of where the country should be going. He points out that she got a majority of the vote. He feels that he would have won the election.
That was David Axelrod. I feel like if you're watching on the webcam, when I say David Axelrod, I have to act like I have a mustache because he looks so weird without a mustache. I'm glad that he grew one. He should leave it on there. So Barack Obama comes out this weekend and says, and this had to just be a huge diss to Hillary Clinton. I mean, you might as well have just taken a knife and jabbed it a little further in her side. I could have won if I'd run. I'd be elected a third term. I've been waiting for my friend George to call in about that because he's the one that claimed that Obama was not going to leave office. He was going to declare a constitutional crisis and stay in office. The arrogant SOB clearly believes that he could have, and he may, I mean, you can't fix stupid. His likability ratings are still higher than I can believe, despite all of the damage he's done to this country. But he may well have defeated Donald Trump primarily because he would have motivated the black voters to come out, which Hillary Clinton didn't.
It's a scary thought to think that, but I think President Obama would have given Donald Trump a big run for his money. You know, as we've seen, blue-collar white Democrats didn't come out or came out for Republicans, and black Democrat voters didn't come out. Women didn't come out for Hillary, so all of those groups were groups that Barack Obama carried. That's what the Democratic Party thought, that they were going to build their party into the future on the Obama people, and when Barack Obama wasn't on the ballot, they lost big time, and three elections in a row.
But if you look at, and I want to get back to that point, but if you look at the number of legislative seats they lost in state houses and in Congress during the 7 years he was president, how can he not look at that and that's what Axelrod was referring to there, and accept some responsibility for this loss? I mean, sure, his name wasn't on the ballot, and he can argue till he's blue in the face that he could have beaten Donald Trump. Well, a lot of people probably could have beaten Donald Trump. I mean, Hillary Clinton was a flawed candidate. That's one reason she lost to Donald Trump, right?
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
I think his whole comment was what he said. I think if he thought he was on the ballot in those off years somehow, and during those off year races, that he would have won. He thinks that it's all about him, that he could have beaten Donald Trump just on sheer personality, that he would have brought out the voters that stayed at home in 2016.
Which means he's in denial between the reality of the damage he's done to the Democratic Party over the years versus media polls that claim he's still popular, despite the fact that we have a dreadful economy and you know, people are living in their parents' basements till they're 26 on Obamacare because they can't get jobs and insurance.
And I think he has remained popular because of the presidential election that we just had, where Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton took all of the oxygen out of the air. He was a lame duck president, so he wasn't going to get much done. So, you know, basically being ignored helps with your approval ratings.
I would also argue that in effect Donald Trump did beat him, because would you not agree with me as a political consultant that Barack Obama did more as a sitting president for a candidate running for president than any other president has done in history that I know of?
Oh, I agree, definitely. And especially when he did that Jimmy Kimmel bit where the hater Twitter feed.
Yeah.
And he dropped the phone and said, you know, you'll never be president.
Thank you.
Dropped it.
All that, yeah.
It was very, very personal.
He taunted Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So I do think because of that he has to bear some responsibility. But then in this media interview this weekend from Hawaii, why in the heck he's doing it's all part of his legacy building effort that he continues even though he's on vacation playing 18 or 36 holes a day of golf. He started talking about what Democrats have to do to win again. Yeah. They have to get to those racist whites in the South and turn them back to the Democratic Party. That's effectively what he said. Listen.
If we can't find some way to break through what is a complicated history in the South and start winning races there and winning back Southern white voters without betraying our commitment to civil rights and diversity. If we can't do those things, then we can win elections, but we will see the same kinds of patterns that we saw during my presidency, a progressive president, but a gridlocked Congress that can't move an agenda forward.
And that's interesting because that is the exact same strategy that they used, was basically ignoring white, middle-class, blue-collar America and depending on women and minorities and young people to win the presidency. And it was successful for them then. Now he's saying that it doesn't work and he creates gridlock. And what the president and a lot of Democrats are just in sheer denial, that there was gridlock because Barack Obama came in as president saying, I won, you lost, I don't want to incorporate any of your ideas and anything that I want to do. And when you start off with an atmosphere like that, you're not going to have a big thing of cooperation. And that's the one thing that everyone overlooks. Politics is a relationships game. And if Barack Obama would have given some of the Republicans what they wanted into some of his initiatives, he was already a popular president. You know, he depended more on, if I don't get anything done, then I'm just going to blame it and say it's racist, when he could have worked with the Republican Party, brought some of them in, had the ideas come, and be a popular president, and then he could have said, hey, I've got the people behind me, I've got some Republicans that are behind some of my initiatives, why won't this stuff stop? And if he would have done that, they would be marking his face for Mount Rushmore right now.
And I think that's interesting that you say that, because he absolutely sat in that office with Eric Cantor across from him and said, wait a minute, Eric, you lost. I won. We're doing this my way. He wouldn't even negotiate with him, right? Yeah. So he failed where somebody like, and you mentioned this on your social media feed, so I'll let you defend it. You told me you thought Lyndon Baines Johnson was a great president.
He was a great president in terms, if you look at the sheer legislation that he got passed while he was president: Medicare, Medicaid, civil rights bills, PBS, seatbelts, no matter what you think of it. But, you know, I visited his library, and some of the legislation that he got passed was just incredible. And the fact that he was a Southern president that got civil rights passed when a lot of the times the Democrats controlled a lot of the powerful committees in the South, in the Congress, because they were South, to get that passed through his sheer strength of will, you have to give him credit for that. You know, one of the things that was said in his book was, Abraham Lincoln freed black people, but LBJ gave black people the right to vote. And that's a legacy that you can't take away from him.
Then he encouraged them to vote for the Democratic Party for the next 40 years, right? Wasn't that his quote?
The Great Society, and that quote can't be found, but the Great Society program, look, LBJ was a New Dealer, and he believed in, you know, the government helping out people. I don't think that he started these programs to enslave black people and make them vote Democratic for 40 years. I think the liberals that came after him took these programs and saw them as a way to create a permanent constituency, and they morphed into what we have today. But if you read LBJ's biographies and kind of learn about the man, I think he really believed in this stuff. But, you know, a lot of times liberals have good intentions, and the consequences
the road to hell
horrible.
is paved with them, don't we know that? All right, that's Chris Arps. Chris, thank you.
There. Sorry.
Thank you, my friend.
Ooh, out of breath.
We have managed to run Chris Arps out of breath. Let's mark this down, please. I'm just teasing. Hey, stick around. Lots